Hello, and welcome to another episode of eBay Scavengers. This is episode number 75, if you can even believe that. I'm Ryan, and I'm here with Jay.
Scavengers!
Viva la Scavengers! And we are talking about what's going on in our store this week. So the first thing I want to mention, real quick, because it's almost the end of the year when we're recording this, I'm encouraging people to buy their shipping supplies, anything you need for your kind of eBay office supplies, because those are tax write-offs. So anything that you've been waiting to buy and you need to buy, go buy that stuff because you can write it off on your taxes this year.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that.
And honestly, I mean, my opinion is that if you're a seller, not a real seller, but if you're selling a lot on eBay and those taxes are going to come, it's always good to get an accountant, you know?
Yeah.
They charge couple $100. Don't go to H&R Block. Go to like a real accountant, you know. So what's this mom phone story?
Oh, I have a list here. So my mom has been using that technique of, you know, when she can't get someone to pay, or if she has a question and for her customer, but they're not answering her through email, she requests their information. Well, she actually called a guy the other day, and he was like so confused. I guess because she had, actually this happened to me today too. She had a pair of boots. She thought they were men's. They're actually women's, and she needed to be like, would you like to cancel this? You probably would. I just want to make sure. So she called this guy, and I guess he was like some college student. He was like, what? I can't believe you just called me. I couldn't believe he answered.
Yeah.
Because cell phones and college kids, shit, I don't even answer my phone.
Right. Yeah.
But so anyway, so the phone thing has been funny because I've been requesting people's phone numbers too to get them to pay. And
although we don't call,
I don't call.
We hope that by it's requesting it, the buyer gets an email and knows we have their phone number now, and they're afraid, and they...
So the next thing I want to talk about was I started a Pinterest account. It's Pinterest.com. It's kind of like a bookmarking site where people can kind of just bookmark cool things around the web and share them. And, you know, it's almost like reblogging, but it's not really a blog. So I started a Pinterest account to showcase a lot of our stuff from our store. Hoping that people are looking for those things on Pinterest.
Kind of like arty, like it's mid-century stuff, furniture, lamps,
furniture,
right.
Paintings, just
Hipster
housewares,
hats,
hipster hats. Just, I mean, that's the stuff we sell all the time. So I was like, you know what? I want another place to showcase our stuff where people are hanging out. And I really think that I've only been doing it for 2 days. There are several things that I put on certain, they call them boards, like kind of like a
pin board,
right. A cork board. And there are a couple things that I put up and they've sold.
But we have no direct evidence.
I have no idea.
But you have pinned several hundred items.
Yeah,
so
like 300 items.
So we haven't had anyone actually say they found it, you know, on Pinterest. But
I will say I'm having a lot of fun.
Cool.
I actually really enjoy that site.
That's a good thing.
So the other story I have is there was like this exciting sale that we had right before we went to bed the other night. It was a $300 fabric sale.
And we were ready to go to sleep.
Oh, I was like so thrilled.
Sugar plum fairies.
Yeah, I was like, $300 fabric sale. That's so awesome.
Fabric that we bought for like $5.
Yeah, for nothing. It was less than $5. Yeah. The sad thing was I stayed up a little later. I was doing like Pinterest on my phone. She wrote to me almost right away. Jay's asleep. She wrote to me almost right away, and she was like, oh, I can't use this fabric. Please refund my money right away. And I could not get to sleep. I felt so bad. So
And this story, let's be specific, is about new buyers. This person
she was a new buyer.
Had never bought anything on eBay, and we've had this happen more than once where it seems like if you're the first thing someone's ever bought on eBay, it's rarely going to go well just because new eBay buyers, they like...
Don't read the description.
Or they're just like... They get nervous, or they buy it and then they realize, oh, it's cheaper somewhere else.
Yeah, just some bullshit. Basically, I was pissed.
but
what could I do? She was like, I can't use it.
And it's always better to refund people's money now than if we had mailed it to her.
Oh, now I have to pay all the shipping. Oh, whatever. That was so sad. Okay, so another story was, and this was a good thing, but kind of bad. This woman bought 8 items from us. She put all these offers on things.
A college girl.
She loved our store, which is great.
She's her dream. She comes in and it's like she's shopping in an Urban Outfitters. She buys a couple. hipster trucker hats.
Right,
like
some sweaters.
Winter coat.
A jacket, 2 jackets. Like, she basically spent like $150 in our store, which is great. In one fell swoop. I'm like, awesome. She pays for everything. And then, and this is not a big deal for us, she's like, oh, will you please ship this after Christmas? Because I'm going away on Christmas break and I won't be home, which is fine. I'm like, yeah, whatever. She's already paid. But the problem is then we get dinged for 8 items not being shipped. That's a bummer. Right. And I called eBay and I was like, what should I do? And they had no answer for me. They literally told me, this is the craziest thing. They were like, you should give her all her money back, list this whole group of stuff as one item, and have her buy it again when she gets back. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. And so we, of course, just eat it. But the crappy thing is that it counts against our top-rated seller status.
Yeah, the shipping status. So, which we've been trying to crawl back from when we were away for 6 weeks.
Yeah, because our percentage went under the 90th percentile.
It's like 65%.
That you have to have. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really sad.
But I mean, the good thing is, if you're new or if you're wondering about all this stuff, we still sell plenty not having top-rated seller status.
We sell a lot.
I mean, I don't know if I see it being like we sell less. Like, I'm always afraid they're going to shove us down on the search its results. But I think, too, since we sell one-of-a-kind items, we don't have as much competition in a lot of categories. Right. So it doesn't really matter if we're number 2 or number 8, you know? Right.
So anyway, I wish there was a solution for that, where you could do a shipping hold and eBay can look at the messages and be like, yes, they requested this. So I think that needs to be something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The good news is this doesn't happen all that often. It doesn't happen that often.
So. But with 8 items, I was like, ooh. One more story that I have on my list is this woman gave us an offer for a paint by number, which was dated 1963 on the back. And her second offer was a little bit higher because we countered. And she said, I painted this painting when I was 11 years old in 1963, and I can't believe I found it again. Right. Which, number one, and she had 0 feedback, so she wasn't, I didn't believe it. I am so skeptical of those stories. I don't believe them ever. But we sold it to her for the lower price, and sure enough, she wrote us a story, whether it's true or not.
Yeah, she said that, like her father died, and the painting had been over there, and it got sold off or dumped somewhere.
Yeah, so she found it again.
And she's from North Carolina, so
that's close enough to us because we're in Virginia. Yeah. So,
but one thing we did talk about is that if you were to find this item that was so important to you, you would think you wouldn't put a low offer on it. She offered us a fourth of what it was up for. Right. And we've had that before where like certain like fashion designers, like not anyone fancy, but like, certain people who used to make clothing back in the 30s and 40s, like custom clothing, we've had pieces of theirs and their relatives will give us these like super low offers, like almost insulting low offers that you're like, if this was so important to you in your family's collection, why would you nickel and dime me on the price? I think the only thing I can think of is that I've said is that they somehow feel ownership of it. It's like it belongs to them and their family, so they don't want to pay for it because they feel like
it should be given to them.
It's theirs in the first place, but
Well, we did sell it to her, so.
Yeah. Well, so I have a couple things that we've sold recently that I thought I'd share.
Okay.
Number one is Starbucks mugs.
Yes.
Starbucks mugs, like Starbucks coffee.
Right.
I cannot believe this. For some reason, people collect Starbucks mugs.
Right.
Starbucks
mugs.
Starbucks mugs.
Say that fast.
So I guess Starbucks, they print mugs all the time, like different collections.
Every year.
It's like stamps or something. And then it just becomes a collectible thing. Like, it doesn't matter if it's Pokemon or whatever, but it's these Starbucks mugs. So we were at an auction and we bought a box of mugs for $5.
Yeah.
And most of them turned out to be from Starbucks.
Right.
And we just sold a set of 6 for $120.
Yeah, it was a set of 6 from...
Crazy.
I think it was from 2010. And it's funny because when I was bidding on that box, this was a while ago. This was like 9 months ago or something. Jay thought I was nuts. He's like, what the hell is in that box? They just look like coffee mugs, you know? And I was like, those are Starbucks mugs. People people collect those. So yeah, so that was a great sale. And
if you look, if you type in completed items,
yes,
I mean there's some mugs, single mugs, that will sell for $300 to $500 just because they're
limited edition. Whatever. They're from Japan or whatever,
or just
So
people,
keep your eye out.
Jesus Christ! So when you go to a thrift store and there's that whole wall full of mugs,
look for the Starbucks mugs.
I now go through and I search those out.
Yeah, you'll find them.
The other thing that is interesting that we've sold at one of our thrift stores we go to, there's this I'm sure that you have this in at your thrift store too. It's like these bins where all
junk.
the ties and socks and underwear, it's just
and hats and purses,
all the clothes that no one really wants to go through. But you know what? I love those sections, and I went in there once and I found hoods from coats, so a winter coats, and these are the hoods. I got them because they happen to be like coyote hair,
Yeah, they have the fur,
a fur on them, so they were really to a nice coat. But because the coat's not there, people just think it's junk. But we got them anyway. Well, let's see what happens.
Because I actually have a coat that I own that has coyote fur around the hood, and it's amazing. And what it does is it blocks the wind, and so when you have that hood over, the coyote fur catches the wind and go, and so people, people in Nordic countries and stuff, they're they want that.
So anyway, we had 3 of them, and we sold. We had 2.
We only have 2. Yeah,
and we sold
both
2
of them.
Yeah, and we sold them for $40 each. So it's almost like we sold these hoods for as much as we would sell a jacket for. Amazing.
Yeah, one was in England and one was in Norway.
Right. So those are my great scavenger stories where you go where no one else wants to look and you find the value and you. So in some little rural county it's Virginia, we found these things that people in Europe now appreciate and love. And I'm assuming they either, I don't know, could they have known what jacket it went to? Or maybe
they're probably just going to sew it onto a jacket or a sweatshirt or something
crazy.
And I mean, coyote fur jackets themselves are worth hundreds of dollars. So
the other thing I had was, it's been a week now. After we did the podcast last week on automated returns, we had a lot of people commenting saying that they do it. It's no big deal. They aren't getting its returns every week. So we said, well, let's try it out. We turned it on. eBay now has on all our items hassle-free shipping. No,
hassle-free returns, it says.
So, we hope that it kind of spurs people to buy. And so
we haven't had any returns yet, so we'll see how it works.
Anything, so...
We'll see.
It's not this scary nightmare. Okay, so let's go to questions.
Okay, we have questions from people. Okay, our first question is from Deb, and she says, say you already know that you will want a professional to pack your item for sale, like a piece of art. How do you estimate the shipping cost for the potential buyer, or do you only give them that information after the sale? What is the wording that you would use in your listing for these type of items as it relates to the shipping price? That's a great question. So what we do is sometimes on some pieces of art or lamps or whatever, we get them pre-packed so that we already know the price. And our lady who does it generally has a price range. It's between $20 and $30 per item, which is a little bit high, but
I mean, these are
large,
big,
delicate,
4-foot pictures with glass.
Huge, right? So I put that as the handling charge. In eBay, you can be this weighs 25 pounds plus $30 handling charge. And so what I do is in the listing, I say, this item will be or is has been professionally packed and will be shipped with insurance so that whoever's buying the artwork understands that's why it costs so much.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. I have several pieces of artwork and one big-ass lamp that has not sold in a long time that I already paid to have packed.
Right.
So I'm a little bit bummed
and
about
it's just
that.
sitting in the corner of
our living room.
Of our storage, yeah.
So,
right.
There's that.
Right. And the danger with that, obviously, is getting it pre-packed like that, is that if someone were to ask a question that we didn't take a picture of or don't know, I mean, there'd be no way we'd open that thing up and do it. So
I don't necessarily recommend to get it pre-packed.
Yeah. I don't know. We did it as an experiment. I still think it's a good idea because, we now know how much things cost to pack. But now that we did it once, and we know how much she will charge us for future ones. Yeah, we don't do that anymore,
right?
And we just
put it on the handling charge.
Add a $40 handling charge, and
right.
We're good to go.
And you could potentially build that into the price of your item.
Yeah.
Say you're like, well, this is worth $150. Let's charge $200 with free shipping, or $200 plus the price of the poundage of the shipping.
Right. But it's free.
Either way, get your money back.
It's always dangerous, though, in our minds, to do free shipping, because if that person gets the item, and even if they don't blame you and they just want to return it, you lose the cost of what it costs to ship it
the
to
first
them,
time,
even if they are willing to ship it back.
Yeah. So scratch what I said about free shipping.
Yeah. Well, it's just it's just a risk.
Right. Okay. Next question.
Okay. So this next question is kind of like a comment, and it's from Tony, and basically it's what he is telling us is that he's heard our podcast and he's been online because he wants to start selling on eBay full time so he can be at home, is with his family, make some money. But his problem is that, like a lot of us have felt, he gets nervous when he talks about this to his family or his outer family and friends, because people don't take him like a serious person. Like, how can you be a man with taking care of your family if you're selling junk on eBay? Like, that's not a real job.
Well, what he's going to be doing is making six figures, so everyone can go screw themselves.
Yeah, and so I think for us, it's been helpful. We're together and we're a couple.
Yeah, we're a partnership.
And we kind of support each other. It would definitely be more difficult if each of us were alone. We've always talked about it. This can be a lonely kind of game. But, I think the big thing is that to convince it's your wife and get her involved. And hopefully she's like you. She's a scavenger. I mean, really, that's the only way eBay seems to work, is that you got to be a scavenger. Yeah. You have to it's like a cycle of being high. The first high is finding the item. Like, that's an exciting thing. That's the best. And then you get to come home and you look at it.
And you research it.
And you're like, oh, this is so cool. And then you have to get excited by taking pictures of it and
cleaning it up,
because
pictures.
You kind of get into the item and you're kind of proud that you found it. Yeah. And then someone buys it. That's a huge high.
You skipped listing because you don't get high off listing. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Yep.
And then someone buys it. That's a huge high.
Right.
And then the last part of the cycle is when someone leaves you good feedback, or at least doesn't write back and say there's a problem, and that it's out of your house and out of your life forever. That's
and then you paid your bills with that money.
Yeah. So you have to really be excited by that a cycle. I think some people see that and they see that as like a mess. Like they see that as like, I don't want to do all that.
You know what
stuff.
I see as a mess? Commuting to an office.
Yeah, right.
That's what I see as a horrible future.
So, Tony, I mean, all I can say is, like we tell everyone, just start listing.
Just list.
I mean, don't explain to people. Just
do it.
Don't need them to like support you. Just start making a money, and that's all people are going to care about.
We've actually gotten several emails this week, which we had similar answers, where we're just like, the answer is listing. That's how you make the money. There's no secret. Like, I listed like 100 things last week.
Right.
That's it. It's freaking boring.
Right. And I took pictures of a couple hundred things.
More than 100 things, you know? So, okay, so our next question is from C, who is a commenter on our blog as well. And C says, would love to hear about any plans to use your eBay profits to start other income streams. Also, your views on when you'll slow down or retire from eBay. Do you have a specific monetary number you're striving for to reach retirement? Love your podcasts.
I love this. It's a question.
Yes, it's a perfect question for us.
Because I think it's really important when you start selling on eBay and if you have this store that you need to start thinking about this stuff. And if you have a partner, to actually talk about, like, is there an end game?
Right.
I mean, number one is...
Why are we doing this?
Right. I mean, number one is, we've talked about it, it's before, we've actually used the profits from our eBay business and we bought a second home.
Right.
About 10 minutes from our main home that we're currently paying for with eBay to fix up.
Right.
And it's going to be a vacation, a rental.
We live in a place where people go on vacation.
Right.
So it's going to be a second business where we do like a vacation, kind of a swanky, fancy.
Put it on Airbnb.
Vacation.
Right.
Yeah, an Airbnb.
So that way we'll have money from eBay and then we'll have a rental income too.
And we're hoping once the house is finished and being rented, because we're not paying for so many renovations and that second house is paying all our mortgages, we're not going to be like hustling so much.
Yeah, I mean, so once we start doing that, we wouldn't hopefully need to sell so much on eBay.
Right.
And, you know, part of us not wanting to have full-time jobs is we love to travel and we want to be able to take 3 months off a year where we can go and live somewhere else.
Right.
And we can scavenge like we're doing in Amsterdam, but like in Amsterdam, we aren't having to like hustle so much, you know? I do think that a C had a good question, like, do we have a specific monetary number we're trying to get to?
Right.
And that is a good thing. You know, I'm not the best person to answer, but I read someone online, he's got a blog. It's Mr. Money, a mustache is his name.
Just Google it, you'll find him.
And it's all, and there's this whole community, he's not the only one, but they're about extreme retirement. And the idea is if you can save up, I think it's $850,000. If you can save up $850,000 cash, and then you can invest it, you can live off 4% of the interest of that $850,000. It comes out to be like $35,000 each a year. So if you have your house paid for and your bills are really low, you can live off of, you know, about $3,000 a month.
Right.
And
if
then,
you're very frugal, yes.
And, you know, and these are people that are like, they're extreme, as they say. And, you know, like he started saving in his 20s. So now by the time 10 years later, if you save $20,000 a year or more, you can get there. I mean, I'm older than that, so it would take a while. But I think those ideas are interesting. I think if you're like us and you're wanting to be independent, you really have to talk about specific numbers and goals and know how much money's going out the door every month. You know, you got to know that stuff.
Right.
So.
Jay is very, very goal-oriented, so he keeps us in line. Goal and number-oriented. Yep. He's like, how much did that thing cost? Okay, I'll write it down right now. I'm like, okay, good. I'm so glad. Okay, this is a good question for me. This is a question from Linda, and she says, what is the best way to ship shoes? I have been buying shoes that come in their original box, but I'm not sure if presenting them in the box is the best way to sell them. Is shipping and selling better without the box? Thanks. I generally never find the box with shoes, so I think it's fine to present it with the box. People like to buy it with the box.
I mean, I think it's like...
that's like golden.
If she's buying shoes in the box, like, that's the best.
Right.
You can actually put in your title, new in box, in IB.
Well, if they're new, I mean, sometimes you find used shoes with their original box, too. If they're new with your box, you can charge a lot more.
But even if they're old, people love the original box. And sometimes if they're really vintage, the box itself is like kind of a showpiece that people want. So,
and a lot of times the box will have the model on it when the shoe doesn't necessarily have the model. So it's helpful for putting in your titles.
Yeah.
But as far as shipping, I ship mostly all my shoes in poly mailers.
Right.
And the reason is because I don't want the extra weight of a box. You can get priority mail. They used to call it the shoe box, but it's one of the priority mail boxes that's like shoe shaped. I don't know what it's called right now. And I use those a lot when when the weight doesn't necessarily matter, like it's someone closer. But mostly I ship shoes in poly mailers because it just makes the price cheaper.
So the next question is from Carrie, and she asked, do we use a program to tweet our eBay listings, and does it do it automatically?
Yes. What I do is if you have a store, there might be some other way to find it if you don't have a store, but if you have a store and you look, I think it's in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little RSS button, and if you don't know what RSS is, it stands for really simple syndication. If you grab your RSS feed, and I think I popped it into, I think it's called twitterfeed.com. You sign in through your Twitter username, whichever one that is, and then you allow it to send your feed out every time you put listings up. That being said, it is super spammy. Like if you look at my Twitter feed, which I'm not going to link to, but it's all listings. Like it's just junk. I don't talk on it. But the reason I do it is to get more, if people are searching for things on Twitter, they're going to find it. You know, Google's picking up that thing. It basically is me spamming the web.
Right.
So now, that's why I do it.
Can you, in the blog post,
I'll link to I think it's called Twitter feed. Yeah. So I'll link to that. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
it does it automatically.
We're very, like, kind of not into the marketing stuff. Like, you'll hear people say, like, oh, you got to do all this stuff. We just did it because we sign up for this thing, and then it just does it automatically forever.
And then I just stopped thinking about it.
And Facebook too, right?
Oh, I'm not on Facebook. Oh, okay. No, we're not on Facebook. But cool. eBay Scavengers is on Facebook, but our personal store is not on Facebook.
So I don't know. I mean, I think that to really answer this, the automatically thing, it doesn't cost you anything. It's free, but it's kind of like spam. I think that the people that benefit most from the social media is people that really take the time to blog about things.
To curate things. Like
if someone, I see those people, they start Tumblr blogs, or they have like a blogger blog, and they just blog about cool items, a vintagey stuff that they find, because people want to go there because it's interesting, and they read about the history.
Well, also, like I was talking about before, like that website Pinterest. I mean, there are people they're curating collections. Like, check out all this Danish modern housewares, and literally, I could spend hours just looking at stuff on the web.
Well, Pinterest is kind of interesting because it's kind of spammy, but because it's picture based, it's really like a cornucopia of just images. So it doesn't feel spammy because the pictures are really interesting.
That basically you're just looking at people's visual bookmarks.
Whereas on a Twitter feed, it's just all this text. You're this is so boring,
But that's not to say I don't spend most of my day reading Twitter, which is what I do.
Right. But you're reading what people are actually spending time to craft.
Right. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Cool, babes.
Okay. Next question. Is there
the next question is from John Cal, I guess from California. I don't know. He's asking, do we always print full size labels, the type that are half page, or do we shrink them down to smaller sizes? Do either of you use a thermal printer? He's heard a lot about them, but not sure of the real pros and cons. And lastly, can the mailing label go anywhere in the box? Sometimes I have to put it on the side to avoid putting it over the opening.
Okay, so yes, I print a half-page label on sticky paper through my laser printer, my Brother brand label laser printer.
Which we have tested and we love it.
Yes, and Mikey and Wendy also use it. I only shrink them down if I have a smaller, first-class box that, my label won't print on, and then I kind of, cut it out and get it to fit on there, which is rare, but I do it. As far as thermal printers go,
don't get us started.
I mean, I use a Macintosh. Mikey and Wendy use a Macintosh computer. They don't work for Macs unless you buy a third-party printer software.
See, we were really into the its thermal
I bought
printer.
one.
We even bought one, and we spent a week trying to set this thing up.
I could not get it to work.
And the problem is that if you have a Mac, like Ryan says, there's no way to avoid having to subscribe to some kind of a service. And we just ended up getting rid of the thermal printer.
Well, I sold it back on eBay.
Because the whole point of this was to save us money
and time.
And so if we're having to spend $10 to $30 a month just so someone gives us a piece of software to use,
print the thermal label, that's crazy.
We use a laser printer and we put it on sticky paper, like as Ryan says.
Yeah, so what I do is I buy these labels on eBay where it's perforated in the middle. So it's sticky paper, but you just pull off one label, and then I save the second blank label for the next round, and then I put it back in the, printer tray in 2 weeks when I have a stack. I mean, it's so much faster than anything else.
So basically, it was our workaround for the thermal printer, because the whole cool thing about that is that it just prints it out and it just, you just stick it on.
And it doesn't, I mean, I would love to use a thermal printer. I wish I could. There's no way to do it for free. So that's crazy.
It sounds like if you have a PC, though, it's a done deal. And you just go on a YouTube and there's all kinds of videos on how to do it.
Yeah, so you can buy a Zebra thermal printer on eBay, no problem.
If you have a PC.
If you have a PC, it should work, so you should go for it. Okay, should we do this last one? Mm-hmm. Okay, so John Cal, the same person, says, one more thing. Regarding insurance, of course, buying things at a thrift store you only pay a small amount of the real value of the product. Say I buy a great camera for $10 and sell it for $64 and insure it. Will insurance pay the $65 based on my proof of sale from eBay? The only receipt I would have would be the $10 receipt. Yeah, so you insure it based on the price that you sell it for, because obviously someone else thought it was worth $65 as well. When you're shipping through USPS and you do either ship cover or USPS insurance, you insure it for the price you sold it for.
Right, so if that item gets lost or hurt in the mail, the insurance company doesn't make you prove that it's actually worth $65. They just say, if you paid us to insure it for $65, that's what we're going to pay you.
However, I have never done a USPS claim, so I don't know what they make you show.
If you have used a USPS insurance and had to actually make a claim, we would love to hear in the comments some actually real world experience for how that works. Yeah. Because we've heard a lot of nightmares, and they make it really easy to actually do the insurance, but we aren't sure if it's easy on the back end when you actually need it.
Right. So those are all our questions. Okay. You can send us more questions through our sidebar. We have a little form on the sidebar. You can send us questions or comments or suggestions for a show.
And our next episode is going to be an interesting one for us, and that's we're going to talk to Katie, who is a listener to It's a Show, but also she's an eBay seller, and she also sells on Amazon, which is something we've always kind of been interested in, so we wanted to really grill her on the ins and outs of selling on Amazon.
Okay, so go check out the next podcast. Bye.
Bye.